My name is Celine. My major is public affairs, and my pronouns are she, hers, and I transferred from Miracosta College. I would say my personal identities that shaped my experiences at UCLA are definitely being the daughter of two immigrants. They are first generation college students, and I'm really, really lucky to have parents who went to college, but also learning and hearing their experiences about having nobody to really help them through both the community college aspect and both the 4 year aspect. And another identity that I really hold true to myself is also being Asian American, Vietnamese, Chinese, and I really take part in a lot of cultural clubs here at UCLA. So it's really nice seeing a lot of people who look like me and are UCLA students, and it's really cool. Finding a community where I truly belonged was really difficult at first because I'm a 4 year transfer. I mean, a second year transfer, I would say. And I transferred in during COVID, and I just remember talking to my roommates, and they're traditional 4 year students, and they're like, Celine, I cannot wait until COVID is over so you can truly see how UCLA is. And I remember just being in my room being where the hell is everyone? Who am I supposed to be hang out with, chilling with? Who's really who does share my experiences? And so when I joined the TSR office, the USAC TSR office, as the internship co-director, I really met students who were feeling like myself, who were feeling lost and they didn't have a community and they're brand new to UCLA. And I was like, don't worry, I'm here for you. And also I was the seated co-director, which seated is Southeast Asian Transfer Enrichment Day, but it's more like a 3-day weekend where we introduce them to a lot of panelists and really give them a lot of advice on what it's like to be a Southeast Asian transfer and connect them to organizations that they might see as beneficial to their own journey here at UCLA. My experience at Miracosta is it was just so fulfilling because there are so many different students, many different types of students with different identities. For example, my dad went to Miracosta with me, so it was just a really cool experience because you don't really normally go to college with your parents, and he was going back to get his PhD because he was like, Celine, there's one thing that I want to show you, and it's that you can pursue higher education if you really, really want to, and look at me, I can do it and stuff. And so going to Miracosta was really eye-opening because I met so many different types of people. For example, one person that really, really stood out to me was I go to transfer lobby days and student lobby days because I'm a public affairs major and I really like that stuff. But one person I always highlight to politicians to push student advocacy is this one gentleman I met named David, and he dropped out of school when he was in middle school, and his parents really he just didn't have parents at that age, and he had to resort to selling drugs on the streets and trying to find food for himself just to go to school. And then he's 25 now and he's going back to college, and he finished his degree just last year, and I talked to him about it and everything, and it's just that story is what accompanies and embodies being a transfer student. There's so many different types of students in different parts of their lives who have to pursue going to community college because it's more accessible and it's cheaper, and there's just more resources that help students who have to go to school, students who have kids, and everything else like that too. Something that really impacted my experience here at UCLA was more along the lines of okay, now I have the perspective that there are so many different types of students, and I really, really wanted to pursue doing research on different types of students and different experiences they had, so we can push policies that really help embody what can truly help students here. Because there are so many issues in the world, but why not start here at UCLA and talk about issues with people and what types of problems that they have. So like that really allowed me to like help transition here, just like being kind of like in those spaces that are very, I would say, are very like supportive of other students. So I felt supported in that way as well. In regards to UCLA really considering transfer experiences, one thing is that transfers find it a little bit harder to apply for certain organizations and clubs, because really it's like you're coming from somewhere random, and it's like the transfer experience is like you have no idea what they were dealing with, and then they have to figure everything out in 1 year and then apply to all their extracurriculars in senior year. But a lot of the times organizations and clubs are really focused on like students have been in their organizations before, and so they hire students who like have been in there and they know them, which makes sense. But it's like hard because it's like oftentimes you don't really understand, the organizations don't really understand the transfer experience. So there's actually, for a call to action, the TSR office has a transfer awareness training which organizations can take, and it's ran by my friend Kayla, and created by my past TSR directors, which is Urman and Zuleika. So another issue that transfer students deal with is like when you're transferring from a four-year to a four-year institution, the tool that we usually utilize is assist.org. And assist.org essentially tells you like, oh, English 1B transfers to English 105 here at UCLA. And that's how they like get their credits. But oftentimes like four-year transfers have to like deep dive and read the course descriptions, and sometimes those descriptions aren't true to what they're saying. So when they transfer here, like for example, my friend had to like retake some chemistry classes and some physics classes because it didn't count at her old school. So she had to like backtrack, go through all that stress, go through like emailing 15 people and waiting back for a response, and doing that all while like being a student at the same time, which is like not, it's really showing that like there isn't a specific route that four-year to four-year transfer students can take or talk to, like have someone to talk to, because there isn't really like a system for that yet. Transfer students who are disabled sometimes have like immunocompromised systems, and being in a pandemic, it's really hard for them to go to class because they're essentially like risking their health. So I'd really like to like hopefully see UCLA push more policies that really support students that are disabled as well. There are so many amazing stories that transfers have. I kind of suggest everyone to like just be like, where did you transfer from? What's your story? What is it like? Because there are just so many like grounding stories that you can hear. Like, wow, you really went through all of that and you still like transferred to UCLA. Like, I just love those stories. The transfer community is like absolutely amazing here because they're so supportive, and everyone's just like, yeah, I know what you went through. Let's just like get through this together and stuff like that. And you said one thing I really liked about UCLA. Okay. Another thing is like, I feel like students here at UCLA are like welcoming. If they're like, if the administration isn't going to support you, then let me like highlight your story and let me like tell your story, because we're like, there's a lot of like student organizations that are just like truly here to support each other, and I just love seeing that dynamic here. I'm the internship co-director for the TSR office in USAC. The TSR office is the Transfer Student Representative's office. Last year, I was working in the Regents Relations office, which the Regents are like individuals who are like, I think 18 of them are appointed by Gavin Newsom, and they're in the office for like 12 years, and some of them are voted in, but also they're just like people who make policies for UC schools. And so my job last year was to like interview, I think, over like 60 students and talk about what their experiences are like, and also send out a survey to really like bring in all of that quantitative and like qualitative research together to really push certain policies. And so this year I am the internship co-director because we're really trying to cultivate a space for transfer students who are really, really interested in advocating for, you know, other transfer students and seeing kind of like what creative ways they can go about really pushing other stories. And it's really awesome seeing their research projects kind of wrap up too, because they're like, wow, I had a great time, and just like seeing their face light up when they're talking about students like themselves and really like having that opportunity to like meet other, for example, disabled students or other first generation students who share those similar experiences. Another thing that I'm involved in is SEATed, which is Southeast Asian Transfer Enrichment Day. And basically we have like panels come and students take part in like families, and they have fun games, and they really like meet other transfer students so they don't feel completely alone when they get here at UCLA. Art has been like a really big part in like, I guess, my identity overall. I could tie it back to being a transfer because like it's freaking stressful. I mean, we all get stressed out. So the way I utilize art is really just like finding a balance between doing work all the time and like really just taking time for myself and sitting down and like reflecting and like making what the frick ever I want, you know what I mean? And so I just sit there and I'm like, okay, this makes me feel good, I'm gonna make it. And then I reflect on like why I made it, what it means to me. And sometimes it's like talking about like how my year has been, not only as like a transfer student, but like as a student, as a daughter of immigrants, as like, you know, someone who is like, who feels like I'm brand new to this community, because although I'm a senior, like last year was kind of not really UCLA experience, but this year it's really great. Being a transfer affected my experience in like involvement in the UCLA community at first, because I just had no clue what was going on. Maybe it's because it was during the pandemic, but like that really pushed me to like find the TSR office and to find other students who were really dealing with that issue as well. But like I started working for the TSR office in like, I think late winter quarter, when I reached out to them on Instagram and I was like, hi, I really like your work, can I please join you? I have no idea what's going on. I'm not seeing all the posts on Instagram. I don't know what pages to follow. My new student, or like my like introduction to UCLA was kind of rough, because like I just didn't know who to ask. And so maybe that's specific to COVID, but talking to other transfers that have like transferred in, sometimes they don't like really know what's going on, especially what's going on the Hill if they don't live there. And sometimes transfer students live in apartments because they are like juniors and seniors. So yes, that was a really big obstacle to face in the beginning, but now we hit the ball running and we gotta get going. So
thank you so much. I think that's the end of the interview.
Cool.